You have 24 hours to get off this property. Those were the first words out of that clipboard-waving rent-a-cop's mouth. And let me tell you, it hit like a gut punch straight to the soul. There I was, standing on the porch of my great-granddad's old 1946 cabin, coffee steaming up from his chipped army mug, the one that's older than half the trees on this mountain, and 3 shiny black SUVs with HOA security decals are idling in my driveway, their diesel engines coughing up clouds that choke out the pine-scented morning. 6 guys in tactical vests, wannabe cops, really, are circling me like I'm the last donut at a cop convention. The ringleader slaps his clipboard and goes, "This cabin violates community standards." I just take another slow sip. 4 generations of my family put on a uniform for this country. This land is ours, I say. Not according to the HOA, he shoots back. They had no clue they just poked a veteran bear. My cousins don't ride scooters, they ride Harleys. 3 just rotated back from Afghanistan. HOA invades your family cabin. You fighting back? Drop your state below, because in half an hour, this mountain's about to roar. Now, let me back up a sec. 3 months ago, I was living the corporate dream. 200 grand a year, corner office, health insurance that actually worked in panic attacks in boardrooms, sleeping pills just to get through another day. My marriage flatlined somewhere between endless meetings and quarterly reports. Sarah took half and ran off to California with her yoga instructor. Lucky for me, just when it felt like life was pulling me under for the 3rd time, Ezra's cabin came to me in the will, like a lifeline tossed down from the heavens. This place has roots, real roots. Ezra Blackwood bought these 2 acres after Guadalcanal, shrapnel in his leg and nightmares in his head. He built this cabin himself, $300 and a whole lot of stubborn. Every single board hand cut, every beam placed by calloused hands. My grandfather Roy added the stone fireplace with rocks from the creek after Korea. Dad reinforced the place after Vietnam, taught me how to swing a hammer right on these same beams. 4 generations, same mountain, same morning coffee routine. The scent of old pine and black coffee is the only alarm clock I need now. Most mornings, the wind through these 80-year-old trees sounds like the mountain itself whispering prayers from every veteran who ever found peace up here. I started hatching plans for Rocky Mountain adventure guides. Something real, finally, instead of soul-crushing busywork. The business plan sits on Ezra's table right next to his discharge papers and the original land deed. Every tax paid, every permit filed, this property grandfathered in before zoning was even a thing. Then she shows up, Vivian Thornfield, HOA president, age 52, always in a white Escalade with HOA VAV on the plates and a clipboard she swings like Excalibur. Polo shirts with the HOA logo, hair sprayed so solid it could stop a bullet. Week 1 after I moved in, she's banging on my door at 7 a.m., echoes bouncing off the canyon like artillery fire. "This structure destroys our property values," she announces, with that fake sweet voice that says danger in every syllable. I'm holding Ezra's mug, just unpacked my grandfather's Purple Heart the night before. Steam rising between us like a barrier. "Ma'am, this cabin was here 60 years before your neighborhood," I say. "We don't allow transient elements." She spits that last bit like it's poison, eyes raking over me like I'm a disease. "This community has standards." Standards, huh? I look at her spray-tanned face, orange as a traffic cone, and wonder what she'd say if she knew I spent 2 tours as a combat medic in Iraq, holding little kids together while mortars rained down. I'm not transient. This is my family's land. 4 generations of military service. "Not anymore," she snaps and then starts snapping photos with her iPhone, making sure to get the worst angle, shadows, peeling paint, anything she can weaponize. The camera shutter clicks like a rifle bolt. $500 per day in fines until you comply. Here's where things get interesting. I pull out the original deed, dated 1946, and suddenly her face goes hard and desperate. "My husband owns Thornfield Construction," she says like it's some secret weapon. "We're developing luxury homes. Your little shack sits right where our crown jewel's supposed to go. Prime view, worth $2 million easy." She leans in, perfume so thick it's like chemical warfare. And suddenly it's clear, This isn't about rules or standards. It's about money. My family's legacy is standing in the way of her big payday. We don't want her kind here, soldier boy. She storms off, perfume lingering like poison gas, and I hear her on the phone, "Give me Eagle Eye security. I want him gone by Friday." That's when I knew this wasn't ending with polite conversation. This was war. 2 days later, a certified letter arrives, official as a death sentence. Immediate compliance required. Structure lacks proper permits. Endangers public safety. Mandatory architectural survey, $8,000. And who owns the survey company? Thornfield Architectural Services, of course, her husband's firm. That's half my startup fund gone. So I fire up my old truck, drive the 20 mountain miles to the courthouse, boots crunching on old asphalt, thinking up my counterattack. Inside, the fluorescent lights buzz like angry wasps. The record's office smells like bureaucratic tears. Rosa Martinez, the county clerk, is maybe 35 with hands that look like she's done real work. She whispers, "You're not the first, honey." Turns out Vivian's filed complaints against 5 properties in 6 months. Veterans, old folks on fixed incomes, a single mom who parked her work van in her own driveway. Every target just happened to own land Vivian wants for development. Rosa slides me a fat folder, 47 complaints in 6 months. I remember what my dad always said, if your building existed before their rules, they can't retroactively apply new ones. Grandfathering. Used to think he was just griping. Now, I realize he was giving me the keys to survival. Email records between Vivian, her husband, and a county inspector named Bradley make my blood pressure spike. Problem properties update. Compliance timeline acceleration. This isn't random. It's organized crime with clipboards. So I start making copies of everything. Complaints, emails, violation notices, until my old printer groans for mercy. Emergency HOA meeting, the notice says. 18 hours warning, 2 p.m. On a Tuesday, when everyone's at work. I show up anyway, carrying my grandfather's battered green document box, the same one he kept his Purple Heart in. Inside, the original 1946 permits, land surveys, every tax receipt since Harry Truman was president. The community center smells like burned coffee and fear. Folding chairs in rows, but no one's here for church. Vivian sits at her altar, clipboard, measuring tape, predatory smile. She waves blurry photos around. This eyesore violates setback requirements by 12 feet. I stand up slow, dignity first, just like Ezra taught me. "Ma'am, this cabin was built when your neighborhood was still meadow. Grandfathering doesn't excuse safety hazards," she snaps. And that's when I drop my ace. Rosa found it in the archives, a 1995 inspection certificate signed by the old county engineer. Structural integrity, excellent, I read. Recommended as model for mountain construction. The room goes dead silent. Rosa appears in the doorway, holding more folders, voice carrying across the room. "Sorry I'm late. Brought the original building permit. This cabin wasn't just legal. It was the county showcase for returning veterans." Front page of the 1947 paper. Vivian's face cycles through all the colors of defeat. "We need to consult legal counsel," she stammers, heels clicking like distant artillery as she retreats. But I know this is just round 1. 3 days later, I wake to silence. No fridge hum, no heater, no lights. October in the Rockies. Pipes freeze quick. Outside, boot prints in fresh snow lead from my cut power line straight to the HOA clubhouse. Someone used bolt cutters, knew right where to slice. My generator rattles to life, but it's too late for the guest bathroom pipes. $3,000 in water damage. I call the power company. They sound bored until I mention my address. "Oh, that property, we got a complaint. Fire hazard. Unauthorized connection. Immediate disconnection." "From who?" "A concerned neighbor." My dad's voice echoes in my head. "Utilities need 72 hours notice unless your house is on fire." Turns out he wasn't just paranoid. He was prepping me for war. I file a formal complaint with the state while my generator thumps away in the cold. Vivian's not done. Next, a construction crew shows up at dawn, machinery roaring like the apocalypse. They start blocking my access road with 1,000-pound boulders. This road's had a legal easement since '46. I'm marched down, papers in hand, and the foreman just shrugs. Lady says it's private HOA property now. Insurance liability. By noon, it looks like a prison wall. That's when Stan Kowalski shows up, 68, Korean War vet, moving like a man who survived worse. She finally made her move. Huh? He grumbles, bourbon coffee in hand. She pulled this on the Hendersons last year. Harassed them until they sold for half market value. That hits me hard. Targeting elderly folks with Alzheimer's for profit. That's a line you don't cross. Stan's nephew, Jake Morrison, is a civil rights lawyer up in Denver. What Vivian's doing is textbook housing discrimination, Stan says. Before I can answer, my phone buzzes, a text. Heard about your electrical problems. Maybe time to accept our relocation offer. Stan just grins. She just handed us a smoking gun. 5 minutes later, Jake is on the way with legal papers and a chip on his shoulder. Jake shows up 3 hours later in a beater Honda, stubble jaw, eyes sharp as knives. Meanwhile, Vivian's cronies escalate. 3 security goons show up, tactical vests, mirrored shades, acting like they're in a bad action movie. Daily wellness check. Their leader, Derek, says clipboard shining. You have no authority, I tell him, still holding Ezra's mug. We're authorized private security. Yeah, right? That night, the psychological warfare kicks off. LED flashlights in my windows at random hours. Engines revving outside at 2 a.m. Boots crunching gravel like wolves circling a campfire. The smell of exhaust chokes out the mountain air. So I set up trail cams, military surplus, 6 angles, night vision. What those cameras catch would be hilarious if it weren't criminal. Derek tripping over a tree root, face planting in pine needles, flashlights spinning away, then later caught on tape planting a bag of construction debris behind my generator. Next day, he discovers it and writes me up. Pure stupidity recorded in HD. My dad used to say, private security's just civilians playing dress up. Turns out he was right. But Thursday it gets serious. Derek and his sidekick try to confiscate my grandfather's woodworking tools, calling them safety hazards. I asked for a badge. They got nothing but attitude. That's when Stan strolls over, mug in hand, and says impersonating law enforcement is a felony in Colorado. Derek's radio crackles, panic rising. My phone's recording, and Jake, my lawyer, walks up. This is a one-party consent state. And thanks for admitting you think you're law enforcement. Derek's face drains of color. They scramble to their SUVs, dust flying. 3 days later, Jake drops the bomb. Your HOA doesn't legally exist. He spreads documents over Ezra's table. Incorporation never filed, elections invalid. Every fine and rule completely fraudulent. 4 years of fake authority, poof, gone. Then the real bombshell, $380,000 in dues straight into Vivian's accounts. Community land, supposed to be protected, sold to her husband for pennies. This is RICO territory, Jake says, grinning like a shark. Embezzlement, fraud, civil rights violations, federal charges, 5 to 15 years. But here's the twist. I'm not alone anymore. Friday evening, the roar of Harley engines shakes the valley. My cousins and their crew arrive. Military police, combat engineers, logistics, medics, the works. We set up surveillance, encrypted comms, organize evidence. Tommy, the comms guy, documents every HOA move. Stan's wife brings sandwiches and bourbon at 2 a.m., turning my porch into a war room. The vibe shifts. Vivian's security clowns are now being watched by people who've tracked real threats. Every move she makes gets documented. Vivian goes scorched earth, files emergency complaints, claims militia activity, weapons, stockpiling. Sheriff Rodriguez shows up, but when he sees 6 Harleys and a porch full of vets, his attitude changes quick. False reporting's a crime, he tells me, handing me his card. You need help? Call me direct. Meanwhile, Eagle Eye Security tries planting drug paraphernalia on my property, caught on 6 cameras. Then Vivian shows up with a $50,000 cash bribe, telling me there's a nice trailer park in Pueblo more my style. My cousins film the whole thing, bribery, racism, the works. When Vivian realizes she's lost, she launches a smear campaign on social media, calls us an armed extremist group, posts fake photos, even tips off Channel 7. But Jessica Martinez, the investigative reporter, smells a rat. Her coverage is brutal. She exposes Vivian's fraud, the fake complaints, the embezzled money. By Friday, Vivian is melting down in public, screaming at my property while cameras roll, accusing me of destroying her community. Saturday, the community center is packed. News crews, county officials, the sheriff, and in the back, an FBI agent. Jake takes the stage, projects legal documents. This HOA doesn't exist. Every fine and rule is fake. And here's the financial audit. Marcus, my cousin, lays out the harassment campaign against veterans and minorities. The crowd erupts. Sheriff Rodriguez steps forward. Mrs. Thornfield, you're under arrest for fraud, embezzlement, conspiracy. I stand, holding Ezra's deed. 4 generations of Blackwoods serve this country, and we're not backing down. The room rises in ovation. Vivian is led out in handcuffs, screaming about conspiracies as 6 Harleys fire up in the parking lot. Neighbors cheering. The community dissolves the fake HOA, sets up real governance, and for the first time in years, people breathe easy. My business launches, cousins and friends find homes up here, and mountain mornings are peaceful again. Stan's Garden turns into a community food bank. The scholarship fund helps veterans' families, and every Memorial Day, 100 bikes ride these roads in celebration. The lesson? Bullies with clipboards aren't as powerful as they think. Not when good people stand up and back each other up. Justice tastes like fresh coffee, pine needles, and hard-earned freedom. So, what would you have done if your whole world was on the line? Ever taken on a bully in your own neighborhood? Drop your story or your opinion below. Because in the end, when the mountain roars, it's the people who stick together that win.